Page 91. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whoosh! Sura hurled the knife. It flew past the evil ghost, arriving in the blink of an eye. Hiss. The evil ghost, ignoring Sura, threw the knife he was holding, and Saitama immediately dropped to the ground. Die. By now, the evil ghost had reacted. He clenched his fists and swung at the falling Saitama. Boom. Saitama blocked the attack with his hands. Hiss. Gathering his breath, Saitama chided himself for being so foolish to fight a brute like this, but after having his body supercharged by lightning, Saitama felt only a little pressure. It wasn't unbearable at all. After a brief exchange, Saitama moved like a wild goose in Sura's direction. Though the knife had been fast, Saitama hadn't expected it to kill the enemy in one shot, and sure enough, the blade charged with thunder passed through Sura's body and sunk slightly into the ground, but Sura's body dissolved into a swarm of insects that scattered the instant the knife passed. Whoosh! Saitama yanked out his ninja sword and quickly backstepped to create some distance. Sura slowly emerged from the ground beside the evil ghost, touching his shoulder. There was a wound there, probably from Saitama's earlier attack. Careful, this kid's got some weird speed, Sura said in a low voice. The evil ghost gave a curt nod, his eyes never leaving Saitama. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Seeing how his opponents were reacting, Saitama made a ninja hand sign. Boom. The white smoke cleared, revealing another Saitama. They exchanged a quick glance and nod, and then Saitama charged forward. Using the shadow clone now. He's practically begging to die. The evil ghost stared intently at one of the Saitamas and charged. Tap tap tap. His footsteps were heavy, like a stone man running. This had to be the drawback of his style, sacrificing speed for defense. His Sharingan blazing, Saitama decided to end this with a single blow. Chidori. He thought, channeling chakra into his right hand as he ran. Arcs of lightning began to crackle and gather. Hiss. A blinding light of lightning illuminated the night, sending a shiver of anticipation through Sura and the evil ghost. Death. The evil ghost, seeing he couldn't dodge in time, roared and charged head-on. He leaned to the side, drawing his right hand back and then throwing it forward. Crack. Shoo. Saitama accelerated the moment they made contact, stimulating his leg muscles with chakra to gain a burst of speed. Using his Sharingan to track the trajectory, he dodged, and his right hand plunged into the enemy's chest. Ha! The evil ghost couldn't believe he was dying so easily. Crackling. The Chidori in his hand erupted again, extinguishing the enemy's last bit of life. Meanwhile, the clone was still locked in combat with the masked Sura's ninja. What? Sura was in disbelief. His partner had just died like that. Panic began to set in, and his movements slowed. Boom. The clone kicked him in the gut, but his eyes were fixed on the tree beside him. His Sharingan clearly saw that the enemy had just used a substitution technique. This is trouble. Sura's face paled. He hadn't expected Saitama to be so powerful, able to instantly kill a heavily armored opponent, and under the gaze of those Sharingan eyes, he couldn't use ninjutsu to escape. The moment he did, Saitama would see right through it. After dealing with the genin wearing the evil ghost mask, Saitama joined his clone and surrounded the remaining enemy. Anything you want to say? Saitama held the knife in his hand, his right hand crackling with electricity, a captivating sight. Heh, my lord will avenge us. Saitama, your victory won't last long. If it's another second-rate chump like you next time, I'll cut you down without a second thought, Saitama said, narrowing his eyes and smiling mockingly. Knowing there was no escape, the genin showed no fear. Death held no terror for him. Buzz buzz. The swarm seemed to sense his state of mind and began to churn. After all, the insects bred in his body would die along with him. Shoo. Secret technique, insect tornado. Countless insects surged up from beneath his feet, surrounding Saitama's body. The bugs began to spin like a tornado at incredible speed, and countless insects began to swarm inside to bite Saitama. Hiss. The Chidori burst with power, instantly killing countless bugs. Whoosh! Saitama swung his knife forward, tearing a hole in the insect tornado, and he leaped out, kick. He appeared instantly in front of Sura, stabbing him in the chest as the man stared in stunned disbelief. Death is like the wind. It won't be long, Saitama. The corners of Sura's mouth under the mask curled into a smile as he stared at Saitama blankly. Boom. The shadow clone was released, the clone vanished, and 2 more bodies lay on the ground. Page 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The fight lasted just a few minutes, a quick skirmish far from the camp. No need to worry about waking anyone, Chiyu thought, too lazy to bother with the bodies. He knew the forest was full of wild animals. Hungry beasts would make short work of them by morning. He wiped the sweat from his brow, touched the cut in his mouth with his tongue, and walked back to camp. The fight was quick, and he won at the cost of a few mouthfuls of blood. Crack! The fire popped and crackled, flames leaping high. Back at the camp, Chiyu saw someone by the fire. It was a special fire, meant to keep wild animals away. He recognized the figure instantly. It was Zhaochuan Xiaohu, his client. Everything okay? Xiaohu tossed a branch into the fire, casual as an old friend. Yeah, all taken care of, Chiyu replied. You awake? Chiyu asked. Nah, I got up to pee and noticed you were gone, then I heard some noise, Xiaohu said, shielding his mouth with a hand, as if still half asleep. You used to be a ninja, right? Chiyu asked. He'd sensed the chakra in Xiaohu when they first met. Huh? Xiaohu smiled wryly, then looked wistful. I didn't have the talent. I dreamed of the ninja life, but I failed. Now I'm just a regular old warrior. Not ninja material, but I wasn't bad as a warrior, Xiaohu added, a bit embarrassed, as if wanting to say more. Go get some rest. I'll keep watch, Chiyu said, cutting him off. Xiaohu was just a client. Once the job was done, they'd likely never see each other again. The ninja world was separate from the mundane, and even the wealthy couldn't bridge that gap. Okay, I'm still tired. Good night. Xiaohu got up and started to pat Chiyu on the shoulder, but Chiyu stared at him, and he smiled and stopped his hand and appeared embarrassed. Chiyu watched him get back in the carriage, then turned back to the fire, sighing. Being a ninja had changed him, made it harder to connect with ordinary people. He stared at the flames for a moment, then stood and walked towards the carriage. He climbed onto the roof, wrapped himself in the blanket Xiaohu had given him earlier, and decided that even winter deserved some respect. The rest of the night was quiet, just some animals prowling around, seemingly to mark their territory. He knocked a few of them down, leaving them for food later. Morning. Saitama. Xiaohu called, pulling back the curtain of the carriage, looking refreshed. Morning. What's that smell? Something smells great. Xiaohu hopped out, following the aroma to the fire. Mustache and the other servants were up early. Chiyu had given them the beast he killed the night before, and they were roasting it over the fire. This is the ninja's prey. We're roasting it for the road, Mustache said respectfully. Perfect. Slice me off a leg. Smells so good, I'm starving. Xiaohu waved his hand, issuing an order. Right away, sir. Mustache scurried off to get Xiaohu his meat. Xiaohu happily gnawed on a leg, patting his stomach in satisfaction. He ordered Bazihu to bring a bottle of wine and started drinking. Chiyu, wearing his sword, ignored the whole scene, his eyes half closed. He hadn't gotten much sleep, but even though he was full of energy, he still needed to rest. Let's get going when you're ready. Time waits for no one. Xiaohu called from the carriage. Yes, sir. We're packing up now. We'll be ready soon. Another half hour passed as the servants packed their belongings. Then, Chiyu and the party set off again. The weather was perfect, bright and sunny, the sun warm on their skin, the temperature rising, the promise of spring in the air. Chiyu sat cross-legged on the roof of the carriage, his sword in hand, dozing off. His sensitivity to chakra gave him an inherent scouting ability. He could sense chakra fluctuations within a few hundred yards, even without actively trying. This trick had its downsides. Those who actively suppressed their chakra and aura were outside his range. Maybe someday, as his strength increased, he could improve this skill and detect even those who were trying to hide, but for now, he couldn't. Ho-ho! The horses pulling the carriage snorted and pawed at the ground. They'd arrived at a river, and the caravan had stopped. Some of the servants were filling water containers to replenish their supplies. Saitama? Xiaohu's voice called from the carriage. Yeah, what's up? Chiyu grabbed his sword and jumped down in front of the carriage. Mustache sat there, controlling the horse. Just wondering where we are. Not too familiar with this area, Xiaohu said. Chiyu frowned. He had no idea, he'd just been following the caravan. Sir, I have a map right here. Mustache said, pulling a stack of animal hide maps from under his butt. Show me. Page 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's all good. Chapter 42, Kindness is what matters, right and wrong are their problem. My lord, the map. Mustache handed the map into the carriage, the cat still perched awkwardly on his back. Chiyu leaned over to see where they were. He'd been to the capital, but who remembers all those places? We should be right around here. General Early Spring Xiaohu, ever the strategist, quickly pinpointed their location on the map. This river's called Goddess River. Legend says the goddess Yuo passed through here ages ago, and the river appeared. It's pretty well known around these parts, Bazihu chimed in, being the helpful commentator. Goddess of Mao. Like, Princess Kaguya. Saitama grinned, eyeing the river with interest. My lord, supplies are all set. We're ready to roll. A servant approached the carriage respectfully. All right then, let's get moving. Bazihu cracked his whip and shouted. Look at this, we've knocked out almost a fifth of the trip already. Pretty good time. General Xiaohu patted his chubby face, his eyes gleaming. Thump, star. Saitama landed back on the roof of the carriage, his senses on high alert. The convoy started up again, moving slowly forward. Everyone was quiet except for Mustache, who was yelling constantly. They'd reached a mountainous area, with low hills on both sides. The carriage rolled along the main road that wound through it. Saitama surveyed the scene, a feeling of unease creeping over him. Something wasn't right. Hold up. Chiyu said, his voice low and serious to Mustache, his hand already gripping the hilt of his sword. He could feel chakra fluctuations coming from the hills on either side of the road. And there were a lot of them. These weren't friendly vibes. These had to be the guys after Early Spring Tiger. Ha! General, didn't expect to find you here. Right on cue, the voice boomed down from the mountainside. Thud. 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 Men in uniform poured out from both sides of the mountain. The one who'd spoken was a warrior decked out in red armor. Shimada. Early Spring Xiaohu came out of the carriage and stood at its front, his voice filled with surprise, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Surprised, General? Didn't think it'd be me. Shimada chuckled, stroking his chin in a mocking way. Shimada was a huge guy, much bigger than Early Spring Xiaohu. Seeing that expression on his face felt wrong. Didn't I treat you well? Xiaohu asked, a puzzled look on his face. You did, my lord, but I figure I could be a general myself. What's wrong with that? Shimada shrugged. You show up here to kill me, is that it? Early Spring Xiaohu's eyes turned hard, his voice tight. You've been good to me. If you just step aside and let me take the goods, I swear I won't hurt you. Shimada grinned. With all his men around, he was confident victory was in the bag. So there's no talking you out of this? Saitama said, standing up on the roof of the carriage. His tone was icy. Huh? Who are you? Shimada had noticed the kid on the roof a while ago. You don't need to worry about who I am. Saitama shook his head, running his hand over the ninja sword hanging at his waist, muttering almost to himself. Since the general won't budge, I guess I have no choice but to go against him, Shimada said in a menacing voice, waving his hand. Go. Show no mercy. The samurai on both sides drew their swords and charged toward the convoy. Ninja world samurai might not be as powerful as ninjas, but they were still a force to be reckoned with. Swing, even before Saitama could make a move, he heard the sound of blades being drawn. He turned to see the servants, all armed with simple swords, their eyes narrowed and focused. Kill these traitors. Defend Mr. Early Spring's honor. The leader yelled, then charged forward to meet the enemy coming down the mountain. The enemy outnumbered the servants who'd been traveling with the convoy 4 or 5 to 1, but the servants didn't show a flicker of fear. I can't believe this. Saitama overheard Early Spring Xiaohu's words from the carriage. Isn't that how politics works? Self-interest makes the world go round. As Chiyu spoke, Early Spring Xiaohu shuddered, closing his eyes and then opening them again, a look of resignation on his face. I was grooming Shimada to be my successor. I don't have any kids, and I was hoping he'd take over my position in a few years. I can't believe it. Hee. Early Spring Xiaohu's voice shook, his hands clenched tightly around his thighs. Here they come. Saitama muttered impatiently, bang, he launched himself off the roof with a kick, flying forward like an arrow, the carriage rocking violently from the force of it. Page 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I didn't expect you to be a ninja. The guy talking was decked out in leather armor, rocking a Mist Village headband. He was holding a long sword, about half his height. Treason, huh? Saitama landed right in front of him. Humph, kid, get ready to die. Ninjutsu, hidden mist jutsu. The ninja threw a hand sign, and a thick white mist started rolling in. How do you want to go out? Konoha ninja. The voice echoed from everywhere. Saitama stopped, eyes darting around. He knew this jutsu. Zabuza used it against Kakashi's team, blanketing everything in fog to blindside them. It goes hand in hand with silent killing. This ninjutsu covers your tracks, making you practically invisible in the fog. Sharingan. Saitama wasn't messing around. This rogue ninja was strong, and a master of assassination. He had to be careful. Swing, the long sword flashed in front of Saitama's chest. He leaped back, drawing his own blade and holding it up defensively. Interesting. Kirito's voice echoed again, but Saitama still couldn't pinpoint his location. Protect yourself. Or protect your client. The enemy's voice was a taunt. Ha. Saitama whirled around and bolted toward where he remembered Haruno Sakura being. He picked up a familiar energy and landed beside Sakura. Stay put, don't move. Sakura jumped at Saitama's sudden appearance but relaxed when she recognized him. She clutched her chest, calming down. Is this a Kirigakure assassination technique? Sakura huddled closer to Saitama, but he ignored her, scanning their surroundings, wary of an attack. Sakura looked rattled and edged closer to Saitama, with barely a foot between them. Sakura's expression twisted into something sinister, and she pulled a handful of kunai from her sleeves. Shink, star. Die, thwack, a head hit the ground, Sakura's head. You think I'm stupid? Saitama said, turning around. Lightning crackled around his ninja sword. Sakura dissolved into a puddle of water and vanished. Just a water clone. Wind style, great breakthrough. Saitama was done playing games. A blast of wind erupted from his mouth, instantly clearing the mist. Ha! The enemy was a few yards away, wreathed in dark purple chakra. That's the silent killing technique. Saitama remembered using that jutsu before. Let's go. Spotting the enemy, Saitama charged, he caught a glimpse of the other fight out of the corner of his eye. Sakura and Shimada were locked in a duel. What? Mist Nin was still reeling from having his water clone exposed and the fog blown away. Damn it! Kirito swore when he saw Saitama bearing down on him, but he moved fast and met him head-on. If assassination was out, he'd go toe-to-toe. He didn't believe a jonin who was skilled in assassination techniques would lose to some kid, clang, their blades met, faces close. Those eyes? Kirito stared into Saitama's eyes, boom, Saitama's knee slammed into the enemy's left leg. Hiss. Chidori surged from Saitama's body. He pressed forward, getting in close, boom, clang, crackling, that they traded blows, the enemy's experience giving Saitama a hard time. Every attack aimed for a weak spot, swing, Saitama's blade left a trail of lightning in the air, boom, a foot slammed in after a swing, aimed right at him, too close to dodge, Saitama unleashed more Chidori, forcing the kick back. Humph. Kirito felt Saitama's strength, he leaped back. Saitama frowned, swing, he slashed his blade, Chidori flowing around it, snap, Saitama kept up the attack, even faster now. He was so full of lightning it was practically armor, swing, the enemy didn't dodge completely, and the knife cut across his chest, drawing blood. Koo-woo. Saitama pressed the attack, giving Kirito no room to breathe. His knife was a net, trapping the enemy, and the enemy could do nothing but passively take Saitama's fierce attack. Ha! The knife plunged through the enemy's thigh, and blood spurted out. Ah! The Mist Ninja screamed. Page 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. ZZ. The moment the knife flashed, Chidori Ryu surged around Saitama, and the Kirito ninja's face twisted in surprise. Shwa! Even cornered, Kiranin still lunged, his knife aimed at Saitama's neck. Sharingan picked up the movement, and Saitama snapped his head back, dodging the strike. Damn it! Kurigashi clutched his bleeding thigh, he glared at Saitama, then his eyes darted around, looking for an escape, but with his injury, how could he? His gaze fell on the surrounding ninja, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Kiranin, crippled by his thigh wound, half knelt. He jammed his knife into the ground and used it to pull himself up. Ninja of Konoha, I quit. Just let me go, alright? He forced a smile, trying to appease Saitama. You're out of your mind. The only way you're quitting this is by dying. Saitama ignored his plea and charged. You asked for it. Teeth clenched, he grabbed several exploding tags from his pouch and hurled them at Saitama with a barrage of kunai. Bang! 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 Ha! Dodging the tags, Saitama noticed the enemy wasn't attacking or running away. He was heading for the carriage. A figure cowered in the front seat, trembling, the mustached butler. Don't come any closer, or I'll kill him. The ninja grabbed the butler and roared. Saitama stopped, calmly assessing the situation. Huh, Kiranin chuckled, seeing Saitama held back. Let me leave, and I'll let him go. He pressed the kunai against the butler's throat, the tip piercing the skin, drawing a thin line of blood. Chapter 43, You're not evil or good enough to matter. Aha! The terrified butler couldn't speak, shaking uncontrollably. He was just a butler. Oh. Any other bright ideas? I'm all ears. The enemy's face contorted, hearing the mockery in Saitama's tone. Damn you! He moved to slash the butler's throat, desperately searching for another way out. The kunai plunged forward. The butler's eyes widened in despair, and then he closed them. ZZ. A flash of blue-white lightning blurred past, faster than even the kunai. As Saitama moved, he saw the enemy's pupils dilate and a faint tremor of the butler's mustache. Ding! A knife blocked the kunai, and Saitama's kick sent the enemy flying. Pft! Spitting blood, the enemy barely registered what happened, but it was too late. Saitama shoved the butler away and chased after the falling ninja. Hee hee. Let's die together. The traitor, realizing escape was impossible, went insane. Crash. He tore open his armor, revealing a body plastered with exploding tags, and activated them with chakra. The air crackled with danger. Saitama's expression changed instantly. Asterisk, with this many tags, even I might be toast. Asterisk, he twisted, trying to get away. Nowhere to run. Knowing he was dead, the ninja clung to Saitama as he tried to dodge, even as Saitama's knife swung towards him. Damn it! Chidori Ryu erupted around Saitama, jolting the ninja, but he held on. Boom! The tags detonated, creating a massive explosion. A crater appeared, filled with burning scraps of clothing. Saitama's knife lay untouched nearby. Saitama. The butler stood a short distance away, unharmed but shaken. He'd last seen the ninja grabbing Saitama, then, boom. Dead? The butler felt a pang of regret. Saitama had died protecting him. Plop. In the center of the crater, the ground cracked, revealing a small hole, and a hand reached out. Ha! The butler scrambled to the edge of the pit, staring at the hole, hoping it wasn't the enemy. Ding! Zhaochuan Xiaohu, despite some cuts and bruises, had gained the upper hand against the samurai named Shimada. Shimada, on the other hand, was bleeding heavily from a deep wound in his abdomen. Ho ho! Shimada must have seen Saitama and the ninja take each other out, and his men killed by Zhaochuan men. He knew it was over. The general is always blessed, turning disaster into victory. But you won't win this struggle. Shimada clutched his stomach, defiant to the end. That's none of your concern, Shimada. Chiyu. A surprised voice called out, and Zhaochuan Xiaohu recognized the voice of the butler. Page 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yo! Saitama clawed at the dirt caked on him, pulling himself out and gulping in fresh air. Man, it's good to be alive. He flopped back down, his body a patchwork of nasty cuts and scrapes. Looked brutal. When that thing blew, Saitama couldn't get clear. He had to tank it, maxing out his lightning chakra mode to throw up a lightning shield. He drained almost all his chakra this time, practically materializing the armor, making it real. That's the only reason Saitama wasn't vaporized. Even with a defense that strong, he didn't get off scot-free. The thunder armor got shredded, and the blast still got through. He'd also used ninjutsu to dig a hole and dive into it while the explosion was still going off. Saitama, you okay? Batsuhu saw Saitama emerge from the hole and hurried over to help him up. Stay put. Just lie there for a minute. Saitama sounded strong, so mustache held back. Nearby, early spring Xiaohu smirked. Looks like your hired ninja didn't get the job done. Humph. Shimada snapped, getting back into a fighting stance. After a bit, Saitama pushed himself up. The injuries looked bad, but they were mostly burns and superficial wounds. Nothing that really threatened him. The chakra he'd burned through had also recovered to above the danger zone. Tui. Saitama spat out a mouthful of muddy saliva. He grabbed his knees and slowly stood. His clothes were basically rags, but he didn't care until he ripped them further and winced. The servant battle was over, and it was clear those guys were seriously tough. Shimada's crew of warriors got slaughtered, most were dead, and the rest were on their knees, waving the white flag. 2 of the servants died, but their effectiveness was plain. Shimada was on his knees in front of Zhaochuan Xiaohu too. Not surrendering, though. He figured he was done for. He was just beat. Saitama. Zhaochuan Xiaohu nodded toward Saitama, who looked like hell. Someone found his sword, too, and strapped it back onto his waist. Just kill me, General. Blood dripped from Shimada's abdomen. He was pale, looked like he was about to check out. Shimada. Zhaochuan seemed to hesitate, his grip on his weapon shaking. I don't need your pity, just do it already, early spring. Come on. Shimada shouted, using the last of his energy. He'd decided to face death head-on. No fear, just relief. He knew what was on the line when he chose his path, win or lose, *swing, the blade flashed, and his head hit the ground. Zhaochuan squeezed his eyes shut, his hands finally steady. Okay. All done. Saitama said, breaking the tension. Clean up the battlefield and bury the dead. Zhaochuan Xiaohu looked at the few subordinates still standing. He didn't recognize many faces. Yes. The servants replied in unison, looking grim. While they cleaned up, Saitama shrugged back into his clothes. He wasn't trying to put on a show. Still gotta stay sharp. Could be more enemies out there, right? Saitama didn't give a damn about Zhaochuan Xiaohu's power struggles. He just wanted to finish the job. Let's move out. The convoy started up again, leaving a pile of dead behind in the mountains. Hopefully, they'd have better luck in their next lives. Saitama, thanks for taking care of that ninja back there. Early Spring said from the driver's seat, where he and Mustache were riding. It's my job. Saitama replied, cross-legged on top of the carriage, scanning the road ahead. With Early Spring Xiaohu driving, they were making better time. He seemed anxious to get to the capital. Shimada's attack had spooked Zhaochuan Xiaohu, making him realize the situation was slipping. He needed to hurry. They drove until dark, ate a quick meal, and set up camp. Seriously, you won't have any? Zhaochuan Xiaohu held out a chunk of meat to Saitama. Nope, I'll stick to my rations. Saitama stuck to his routine and didn't want to eat anything else on the mission. I don't know what's going on back in the capital, damn it. Zhaochuan Xiaohu sighed, chewing on the meat. After the afternoon fight, Saitama had a sudden interest in Early Spring situation. Subordinates trying to off each other were a classic in dramas. A minister in the capital has it out for me. He's the one who sent Shimada. I won't go down without a fight. Right, Saitama said. The daimyo doesn't want to get involved, so this is between that minister and me. Most of the bureaucrats in the capital are on his side. I'm here to represent the generals. We're not going to let him run wild anymore. If he wants to stay in charge, he'll have to go through me. Early Spring Xiaohu said darkly, and then stopped talking. I'm gonna take a look around, Saitama said, getting up. He was still banged up, but his chakra was almost back. He was able to keep going. The convoy had stopped in a flat clearing, with a forest to the east that wasn't on their route. The moon was bright, casting long shadows across the ground, but Saitama wasn't in a great mood. He patrolled the perimeter and then went back to the camp. He was still wiped out from earlier. Even if he wasn't saying it, his body felt it. Early Spring Xiaohu and his remaining men were up, sitting around the fire and talking quietly. Page 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mustache stayed put on the carriage, gazing at the starry sky with Saitama on the roof. Bazihu had brushed with death that day. If Saitama hadn't intervened, he'd be a goner. Saitama, think my lord's got a chance when we get back. Bazihu was anxious. Even Shimada, Zhaochuan Xiaohu's golden boy, had betrayed him. The thought of what awaited them in the capital was terrifying. He'd spent his whole life serving the Zhaochuan family, like his ancestors before him. He couldn't imagine what would become of him if something happened to Zhaochuan Xiaohu. Would he end up in the same dark place, sleeping forever? That's not part of my job. I just gotta deliver Zhaochuan Xiaohu to the capital safe and sound, Saitama said, dangling his legs off the carriage and bracing himself against the edge. Right, none of your business, Saitama. Bazihu forced a smile, lost in thought, probably imagining his bleak future. I still believe my lord can beat M. After a long silence, Mustache mumbled to himself, barely audible. Maybe. Saitama squinted, studying the stars, his lips pursed. Chapter 44, I bloom in slaughter, like a flower in the dawn. The night passed quickly. Mustache pushed aside his worries, focusing on his duty to Zhaochuan Xiaohu. The carriage rolled on. The road was clear, and they pressed on without trouble. Chirp. They passed through a forest filled with birdsong, a pleasant reminder of nature's beauty. Saitama, one more day and we'll be in the capital. Zhaochuan Xiaohu, looking energetic, leaned out the window. Okay. Sword in hand, Saitama stared ahead. The closer they got, the more vigilant he became. He didn't want to screw up at the last minute. Whoosh! Saitama shot to his feet. Just his luck. A surge of chakra signatures hit his senses. Zhaochuan Xiaohu, what a surprise. A group of figures blocked the road ahead. A fancy-dressed middle-aged man stood in a carriage. Hold up, Zhaochuan Xiaohu ordered Mustache, then stepped out of the carriage. Sanjoji. Zhaochuan Xiaohu sounded surprised. Didn't think I'd come to greet you myself. Sanjoji said. Didn't think you had the guts to come at me directly. You think those clowns you brought can stop me? Zhaochuan Xiaohu asked calmly, showing no fear. Really? Knowing you made it this far told me Shimada screwed up. You think I wouldn't prepare better? Sanjoji looked at Zhaochuan Xiaohu like he was an idiot. You must be the Konoha ninja Zhaochuan hired. Not bad, taking down Jonin at your age. But this is the end of the road for you. Sanjoji glanced up at Saitama on the roof. Clap, clap, clap. Sanjoji clapped his hands, and 3 ninjas stepped out from behind the carriage. Cuss is useless. Couldn't even kill a kid. One ninja sneered cruelly at Saitama, as if he already owned him. Kid, you're gonna regret being born. Another ninja growled, a sledgehammer slung across his back. He's kinda cute. Don't waste him after you kill him, heh heh. The last ninja leered, his face scarred. Just listening to him made your skin crawl. Saitama frowned but said nothing. These 3 ninjas were definitely Jonin, probably a team that had worked together for years. Saitama knew he couldn't protect Zhaochuan Xiaohu and fight them at the same time. There's a ton of warriors around, hundreds. Zhaochuan Xiaohu whispered, counting the enemy numbers. What do we do, my lord? Mustache whimpered, cowering by the carriage. Silence. Zhaochuan Xiaohu stared blankly, at a loss. I'll hold those 3 ninjas off. You guys find a way to break through. Saitama jumped off the carriage, gripping his sword. That was all he could do. This job was never gonna be easy. Saitama shook his head and braced himself. Hey, kid, you got guts. Thought you'd run home crying to mommy. The enemy leader laughed and started toward Saitama, the others following close behind. Knowing Saitama was Jonin level, they weren't about to fight him one-on-one. They wouldn't pass up the chance to soften him up first. Fizz. Chidori was swirling around the blade. Saitama's Sharingan was wide open. His body was tense, ready. Thump. The enemy, 20 meters away, suddenly sprinted toward Saitama. Boom. Saitama shot forward just as fast, eyes locked on the 3 enemies. He shouldn't be charging in without intel, but he knew he had no choice. Saitama's speed took the enemy by surprise. He nimbly sidestepped the first one and slashed at the pockmarked face behind him. That guy had the only weapon, so Saitama had to take it out first. Clang! The hammer blocked the blade, but the force still knocked the enemy back a few steps. Saitama tried to pull back his sword, but it was stuck fast. Puzzled, he looked up and saw the grinning, pockmarked face behind the hammer. Boom! The leering man seized the opening and punched Saitama. The ninja Saitama had dodged earlier recovered, drew a kunai, and stabbed at Saitama's back. Page 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dangers popped up everywhere in a heartbeat. The tables turned so fast it made Saitama's skin crawl. He had no choice but to drop the knife, leap into the air, and land to the side. The enemy's attack failed, but they didn't pursue him. Hey, Kid, how's it going? Motzi's voice hit Saitama the second he landed. Motzi was already showing off, casually snatching Saitama's saber from the hammer and waving it around like it was nothing. No weapon now. How you gonna fight? The weasel-faced guy taunted. Quit the chatter, just ice this kid. The lead ninja snapped at his buddy, eyes locked on Saitama, who didn't seem fazed at all. Saitama glanced over at Tiger in the early spring, who was knee-deep in the fight, hacking and slashing through a dozen guys. Sanguiji stood smugly at the front of the car, acting like he'd known all along how Tiger would perform. A surge of power shot through Saitama. He knew he had to end this fast or early spring wouldn't last. Die. The lead ninja charged, kunai in hand, with Motzi and the weasel-faced guy right behind him. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He made a quick hand seal, built up chakra in his throat, and unleashed a massive fireball. Scatter, that the enemy split up, dodging Saitama's ninjutsu. Chidori. Saitama targeted the closest ninja leader and bolted forward, his hands crackling with electricity. Ha! The enemy, still reeling from dodging the fireball, saw Saitama coming in hot. Water style, giant water ball. He countered with a water ball, but his was nothing compared to the fireball Saitama had just thrown. ****. Saitama sliced through the water ball with his right hand, cutting it in half. He kept charging, not slowing down. Eat this, he drew his right hand back, then thrust it forward like an arrow. **ZZ, his right hand struck the huge hammer, creating a few small holes. Saitama froze for a split second, squinted, then jumped back, dodging a kick from the weasel-faced guy. Hey, 2 hits. The lead ninja said, sounding relieved. He'd thought he was a goner. If his buddy's hammer hadn't blocked that fearsome-looking ninjutsu attack, he might be pushing up daisies. Even so, Saitama's attack had slammed the hammer against his chest, making it tight and numb from the electrical jolt. Lucky for him, it wasn't a fatal hit. Gotta find a way to split them up. Saitama thought. This 3-on-1 wasn't gonna work. Sir! Mustache exclaimed in surprise. Out of the corner of his eye, Saitama saw early spring get slashed in the back while surrounded. This is a pain in the neck. Saitama said, getting annoyed. *bang, the hammer smashed the spot where Saitama had been standing, but he'd dodged it. They'd attacked the second he was distracted. *bang, electricity crackled from his right foot as he collided with the weasel-faced guy. The electric shock made his face flush, and his body twitched. Chidori Ryu was nothing to sneeze at, and Saitama had to give himself credit for that move. Before he could keep up the pressure, another ninja attacked. These guys were coordinated, one attack flowing into the next. Saitama wasn't getting hit, but he wasn't getting any chances to strike back. Ha. The weasel-faced guy chuckled creepily, teaming up with the other two to keep up the assault. He'd already shaken off the Chidori shock. That's it. Saitama glanced at Sanguiji Temple, who was calmly watching from the front of the car. *snap, Saitama landed a punch on the pockmarked guy who'd rushed him, electricity crackling on his face, leaving a nasty burn. *bang, the ninja behind him attacked again. Saitama wanted to land another punch, but had to dodge. Gotcha. The enemy was right behind him, and the lead ninja's foot slammed into Saitama's back. *bang, Saitama absorbed the blow, and a burst of electricity erupted from the point of impact. The enemy dodged. Ha! The weasel-faced guy stepped forward, but Saitama's eyes lit up. After their battle, Saitama knew this guy was the weakest link, and he'd been waiting for an opening. Now the weasel-faced guy rushed at him, looking cocky. He thought their 3-man routine had Saitama locked down. Ha! His fist glowed blue, covered in chakra, as he swung at Saitama. *hiss, electricity surged, and the riding wheel spun wildly. Saitama was going to take this guy down in one shot and turn the tide. Time to pay the piper. Saitama shot out his right hand, crackling with power, but the enemy seemed to have expected it. dodging as Saitama countered. He knew his buddies were about to attack, and wanted Saitama to pull back, *shu, his right hand, which had been aimed for a stab, grabbed the enemy as he dodged, unleashing a massive surge of electricity. Aya. Page 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The ninja screamed, clutching where Saitama got to him, his breath hitched, and a flicker of fear crossed his face. Hold up. Seeing their buddy get locked down, the other two slowed their advance. Before they could even speak, Saitama's other hand flashed with a lightning strike, plunging straight into one's throat. Blood sprayed, and a look of stunned surprise froze on the ninja's face. What the hell? The pockmarked ninja was in disbelief, then angrily swung his war hammer. The hammer came down fast, aimed right for Saitama's head. He knew his teammate was a goner, so he threw caution to the wind, *bang, Saitama shoved the dying ninja forward, and the hammer connected with a sickening thud, sending blood and chunks of flesh flying everywhere. Town! The ninja leader yelled, ignoring the mess, his eyes locked onto Saitama. Damn you, Konoha ninja! Pockface spat, gripping his hammer. Down one already. You think you can still take me? Saitama backpedaled a few steps, taunting them. The remaining two ninjas exchanged a look, then, as if reaching a decision, each downed a pill. Huh. Saitama sensed something was up, and braced himself, going on the defensive. Chapter 45. After swallowing the pills, the two ninjas' chakra levels spiked, and bloodshot veins spiderwebbed across their eyes, their faces contorted, as if they were fighting against something inside, clearly in pain. Some kind of power-up pill, huh? Saitama observed their reaction, *whoosh, the ninja leader charged Saitama, his speed massively increased, now wreathed in a cloak of swirling chakra. He looked like a real threat, *boom, his punch pulverized the ground. Saitama leapt back to dodge, *swish, the other ninja, hammer in hand, bore down on Saitama, swinging the weapon with a grunt. Die! You're dead! The hammer-wielding ninja, like a raging, steroid bear, swung his weapon relentlessly. Crack! Dodging the hammer, Saitama caught the other ninja's fist in both hands, but was still sent reeling backwards from the impact. Damn, this guy hits like a truck. Saitama barely managed to block the blow with both hands. He was strong, but this punch was on another level. As he was flying backwards, Saitama circulated his own chakra, channeling it to his hands, Chidori erupting outward, straight along his enemy's arm *zzzzzz, the electricity crackled and surged, but the ninja didn't even flinch. So, the pill also dulls or outright shuts off the pain receptors, huh? Saitama mentally catalogued the information, analyzing everything he could during the fight, *boom, the ninja followed through with a kick, and Saitama met it with a Chidori-infused kick of his own. The two kicks collided, and Saitama used the momentum to break free, retreating even faster, *boom, the hammer came crashing down again. The ninja had leapt into the air, bringing the hammer down with everything he had. Crap! Saitama twisted out of the way, but was still caught by the shockwave, his chest tightening. These pills never last long. Gotta play for time. How's early spring tiger doing? Saitama thought, glancing to the side, of the handful of subordinates who'd come with them. Only 4 remained around early spring tiger, and all of them were injured. Early spring tiger was having a rough time as well, one of his arms clearly too weak to hold a sword. There were still nearly 50 warriors surrounding them, easily 10 times the number of early spring tiger's group. This is bad. Saitama knew that this was the make-or-break moment. Fire style, fireball jutsu. This time, there were subtle differences in the ninjutsu. Instead of one large fireball, Saitama spat out several much smaller ones. He divided his chakra into multiple blasts. The two enemies dodged left and right to avoid Saitama's attack. After choosing his target, Saitama rushed forward. The ninjutsu was just to isolate the two enemies so he could pull off a move. The hammer swiped at Saitama, and purple veins began to throb on the pockmarked ninja's face, capillaries bursting under the skin. The hammer slammed into the ground, barely 4 inches from Saitama planting his foot on the hammer to keep the ninja from retrieving it. Saitama closed an swish, the electrical discharge in his hand left a sizzling red streak across the ninja's cheek. Time to die. The ninja was showing signs of fatigue. Saitama surged forward, throwing himself into his arms, shunk, his right hand plunged into the ninja's right chest, a hole opening up. Lightning crackled and buzzed inside. Page 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even Saitama felt the drain on his energy. Ugh. The enemy grinned, the chest wound seemingly doing nothing to diminish his life force. He released the hammer, wrapping his arms around Saitama in a crushing hug. Caught off guard, Saitama was helpless. Now it was Saitama's turn to feel the squeeze. The chakra depletion and physical exhaustion, combined with the enemy's suffocating embrace, made him feel like a duck being strangled. Schwa, as a kunai blade pierced his back, Saitama unleashed a final surge of chakra, channeling it into a jolting electrical current throughout his body. Ignoring the surge, the enemy relentlessly drove the kunai deeper into Saitama. Pft! A mouthful of blood erupted, splattering the face of the enemy clutching him. Saitama roared, his Sharingan eyes spinning wildly, on the verge of unlocking a new level. Rub, a second stretched into an eternity. Saitama's eyes burned, the world sharpening into greater clarity. A fresh wave of chakra surged within him, enough to keep him conscious. Schwa, with a flick of his wrist, he formed the ninja hand seal. In a puff of white smoke, Saitama vanished, substitution jutsu. The wood in the enemy's arms crumbled into splinters. Saitama reappeared in front of the enemy, a hint of fear still lingering, but the 3 tomo in his eyes signaled the beginning of his counterattack. The evolved Sharingan granted Saitama a burst of speed, allowing him to see the world with new clarity. Harnessing the newly generated chakra, Saitama acted immediately. Chakra surged through his legs, supercharging his cells. He could deal with the consequences later. Kick, Saitama shot forward, heading straight for the enemy. Using his hand as a blade, he turned speed into a lethal weapon. Even with just a little bit of lightning, it was still more than enough to cut and kill. He slashed a gash across the leader's chest, then pivoted, dodging the enemy's kunai, and landing in front of the pockmarked ninja. The Chidori wound seemed to be disrupting the drugs in his system. The ninja's strength was waning. Saitama's palm sliced across his throat. He quickly backpedaled, creating distance. Plop, another enemy fell. The Sharingan's evolution brought more than just changes in the bloodline, it provided an all-around upgrade. Saitama now dared to attempt things he'd previously hesitated to try, like moving at his current speed. His Sharingan hadn't been able to keep up with that level of movement. The problem before was that his eyes couldn't process things clearly at that speed. But now, everything was perfectly in sync. With only one enemy remaining, the fight was all but over. Saitama easily took him down. Upgrading his Sharingan had made a huge difference in his overall power. Ignoring the ninja leader choking on his own blood, Saitama grabbed his own sword and stalked toward Zeoharu Zayatora. Even if killing the last ninja had left him drained, he wasn't afraid. Xiaochun Xiaohu, it's over for you. Surrounded by soldiers, Zeoharu Zayatora stood before Senjoji. Spitting out blood, Zeoharu Zayatora felt a sense of doom. Saitama was being swarmed by 3 ninjas and his chances here were slim. The soldiers of the Fire Country don't surrender. You can kill me, but there are thousands more ready to take my place. He tried to shout, but his voice was weak. Clap, Senjoji clapped his hands. That's not your problem anymore. Show me your guts. Zayatora watched Senjoji draw his sword. His body was covered in wounds, and he couldn't fight back. The fact that he was even standing here was a miracle. What? What? Before Sanjoji could strike, soldiers in the back ranks cried out and fell. Huh? Sanjoji looked in the direction of the screams, shocked. You're still alive. Sanjoji watched Saitama cutting down his soldiers like they were children. You think a few clowns are enough to kill me? Saitama was in rough shape, his clothes were shredded with a bloody hole in his back. A spent force. Sanjoji might not be a ninja, but he could still recognize an exhausted enemy. Kill him. Sanjoji retreated, pushing his soldiers forward to face Saitama, *schwa. Without using any chakra, Saitama relied entirely on his own physical skills, effortlessly cutting down the charging enemies. Saitama, Zaohara Zayatora, who had been drifting in and out of consciousness, saw Saitama and felt a wave of relief. He had gotten a new lease on life. Stop him. Sanjoji hadn't expected Saitama to be capable of such a fight. He shouted the order, then scrambled into his carriage, preparing to flee, knowing they were walking straight into their deaths. The remaining samurai followed his orders and tried to hold off Saitama. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Sanjoji's carriage sped off, leaving Saitama helpless to stop them.